What's going on, guys? So for all of you that are new to the channel, I'm Caleb Srackangast. This is Buffalo Creek Outdoors. I'm up here at Grafton Archery again today doing some bow reviews for the new 2024 lineup of bows. Today is one that I've been waiting to do for a while. I've just not really had the time to come up here. The guys up here at Grafton have redone the shop. It looks really, really cool. You need to come up here and check it out. But today's review, without further ado, is the new Bowtech Core SS. All right, so this bow is packed full of features. If you know, in the past, I've kind of been critical of some of the features that the Bowtechs have. I am going to kind of change my opinion on that a little bit this year. But before I get into what I like and what I dislike about this bow, let's talk about some of the specs that this thing has and some of the technology that this thing has, and then we'll go into my opinion on both of those. So as far as technology, or as far as specs on this Core SS, you're going to have a 31.5 inch axle to axle. You're going to have a 6 1/4 inch brace height. You're going to have 4.5 pounds. That's what this bow is said to weigh. Now this bow here has a rest on it. It's not a whisker biscuit. It's their octane rest that is on this bow. They have an integrated octane, which is pretty cool. I wish the whisker biscuit would offer a integrated system like that, but they do not as of right now. But anyway, the bow is weighed at 4.5 pounds from the factory, but that's without the orbit dampeners or a rest. So, and this one also has the quiver bracket on the side of it, which we'll get into that here in a minute. But so this bow is going to weigh a little bit more. I didn't weigh this bow on the actual hand scale, but I do know that this bow feels lighter than the Hoyts, which is probably, in my opinion, the most comparable aluminum bows that we have in this shop. This one definitely feels a little lighter, but that's not scientific because I didn't weigh it on a scale. But like I said, 4.5 pounds from the factory is what they're saying this thing weighs. The available draw weights in this bow are 50, 60, and 70. Of course, they're going to be in 10-pound increments, so if you get a 50, you can probably go down to 40-ish, 60, go down to 50, and 70, go down to 60. And you'll have a little bit of fluctuation in the top end too. Most of the time people get 70s and they end up with like 71, 72, 73 pounds. Speed, this bow is rated at 337. I did not see those speeds out of this bow, but we'll talk about the speeds that I got and kind of my opinion on how you should take that data. Draw length, 26 to 31 inches. So this bow is going to be a very good option for guys that have a longer draw length. 31 inch draw length is not as common as more like your 29. That's probably about average 28 to 29. But for you guys out there or women out there that have a long draw length, this bow may be an option for you. Let off, I could not find on the website what the let off is on this bow. If it's like the Bowtechs in the past, I'm assuming it's close to 90%. I couldn't find that on the website. I couldn't find it on the cam. I couldn't find the specs on that. So if any of you out there have the specs on what the let off is on this mod or on this cam, let me know. And while we're talking about cams, this bow has the Deadlock SS cam on it, which they've been running the Deadlock cams for a couple years, but this is their Deadlock SS or Super Smooth cam. This bow is available in 11 colors. It also is available in custom colors, but as far as the available regular colors that they offer, it's got 11 colors. So let's talk about some of the technology on this bow. So you've got your center mass sight technology, and if you've seen the Matthews and how they've got their bridge lock technology and how the sight goes through the center of the riser, well, this is essentially the same idea, but this seems like it has a tighter tolerance on it. And it actually has a little raised, I would call it like a boss inside the riser. And As of right now, the only sights that you can get that fit this are the black golds. They offer one right now. I'm sure other companies will eventually offer it. But you know, y'all probably know that Black Gold and Tight Spot are two of the companies that are kind of intertwined with Bowtech. So as of right now, the Black Gold sights are the only ones that are going to fit this, what they're calling center mass sight technology. It's a good system. I like this honestly a little bit better than the Matthews sight technology or in their riser, but the downside is there's only one sight available that'll fit it. You're going to have your time lock, and what this does is there's a set screw, top and bottom cam, both have this option. There's a set screw on the side, and there's a thread screw going in and out to make your adjustments. And what it does is when you draw this bow on the draw board, normally when you draw a bow and it's out of time, you have to put a twist in one of the cables or a couple twists in one of the cables to get your cams to line up where both stops hit exactly the same. Now, with this bow, you don't need a press. Normally you would need to press the bow, take your cable off, twist it, put it back on, draw it back, check it, blah, blah, blah. What this has done is allowed you to make that adjustment without a press. If you have a press, it's not as big of a deal, but it is convenient. I actually had to time this bow and it worked extremely well. It was a nice system to have. Along with the time lock, you're going to have your deadlock cams, which hence the name. So on the deadlock cams, the cool thing about these is instead of having to take your axle out, put the bow in a press, take your axle out, and shim the cams right or left to fix any right or left tear in your shot or in your paper tune, you can actually take a Allen wrench and thread these cams right or left. You don't ever want to just go crazy with it. It's just going to be a slight adjustment. That's a nice option. Once again, you don't have to press the bow. Along with that, this bow has your grip lock technology, which, if you can't already tell, that's one thing that Bowtech has really tried to do, is make these bows as tunable as possible without a press for the normal guys out there that don't have a press and want the option to tinker on their bows without having to buy an actual press. So you got your grip lock technology, and this just has two set screws on the sides. You can actually adjust your grip plate in and out. If you want more of a high grip, low grip, you can adjust that. It comes bottomed out from the factory, and I actually really like the grips on these bows. In the past, I've always shot pretty much off the riser in the bows that I've had. Well, this bow with the grip on it feels like you're shooting off the riser. So it's a good option for guys that like a grip, like my personal preference of shooting off the riser. You will probably like the grip on these bows. Dual lock pockets, I didn't mention that. So once again, you've got a set screw that adjusts and tightens. So you actually have to loosen this set screw on the side of the riser in order to adjust your poundage on your bow. And then once you get done adjusting it with your main limb bolt, you just tighten that set screw down, and then it will allow, pretty much it just makes this whole system rigid and solid, and it's supposed to make the bow more accurate. Flip disc technology. We'll get into the speeds. You might have already seen that I have a bunch of different numbers on the speed chart. This bow comes with a comfort mod or performance mod. Same mod, it just flips. So one side is comfort, one side is performance. The mod is pretty self-explanatory. So the cam itself has your draw lengths written down on it or etched in it, and you just flip, and then there's a post on the mod on each side that fits in the hole for whatever draw length you're wanting to shoot. I have this bow set in 27 inches. You also have a draw stop on top and bottom cam marked with the draw length as well. So it's pretty self-explanatory. These bows are really designed for the guys that want to tinker on their bows and want the ability to do so without a press. So that's pretty much it. They've got the integrated rest technology in the back. Once again, like I said, the Octane has an integrated system that mounts in here, but you can also use something like the QAD as well. All right, So let's shoot this thing. I don't know if you can tell it based on the video, but this thing is so smooth. Now right now I have this bow set in the comfort setting. I shot both the comfort and the speed or performance mod or setting. And I can tell you right now, I did not enjoy the performance setting. And if I were to shoot this bow, my personal preference would not be to shoot the performance setting. I didn't notice that you got enough out of it to justify the change in draw cycle. While we're talking about draw cycle, let me go ahead and let this bow down. It's easy to let down without it wanting to snatch your arm off, which in a hunting scenario comes in very handy. So let's draw this bow again. Back wall on this bow does have a little bit of it's definitely got a little bit of sponge to it. The bow is very dead in the hand. Now I will say, if you choose to shoot this bow without the orbit dampeners on these bows, pretty much all the Bowtechs are going to feel like a tuning fork compared to what they feel like with the orbit dampeners on there. And that's been the case so far with all the bows this year. They're all pretty much designed with some form of dampening system attached to the riser. Which, one thing I will say, if a bow company is going to offer a bow from the factory with a dampener on it, and that bow has been designed to shoot with that dampener on it, they need to give you the weight of the bow with the dampeners on it, not bare stock, bone stock bow. They need to all start doing that. None of them give you the true weight on these bows as far as the held felt weight when you're carrying this bow. And if you choose to shoot the bow like they weigh it, this bow is going to feel like absolute garbage as far as the vibration and shock in the riser. These dampeners, on, like I said, on all the brands, I'm not hitting on Bowtech, but all the brands so far, once I've taken the vibration dampener off the riser that they're designed to shoot with, they all feel like crap. Super smooth. It's got a decent back wall. This is probably the first year where I can say the Hoyt and Matthews has had a better back wall than a Bowtech. Very, very smooth, very, very dead in the hand, very quiet. I'm actually very impressed with these bows. This is probably going to be the best year. I keep saying that, like, this has been the best year so far as good, true competition between the major brands on innovation and how these bows feel. And this bow is no different. Let's get one more shot. Really focus on, let's see how this bow balances. This bow feels really good. Let's go ahead and go to the board. I'll put my scores up there and then we can talk about it, what I think about this bow. All right, so this is gonna be a little different than the other reviews that I do because this bow has a performance and a comfort mod on it. I'm going to rate the bow with both. So some of these scores you're gonna see two numbers and you're gonna also see two separate scores, and that's why you'll see that on these bows. This one and the Core SR as well. All right, so shootability, I gave this bow a 7. Tunability, I gave this bow a 10. Draw cycle, I gave this bow an 8. No, I'm sorry, I gave this bow a 9. And then I gave this bow a 5 in the performance setting. Noise and vibration, a 9. Put that comma there. Actually, let's do this. Let's put a hash or slash. Speed, I gave this bow a 5 in comfort and a 7 in performance. Balance, I gave this bow a 5. Back wall, I gave this bow a 6 in comfort and an 8 in performance. It did change the back wall for me. Weight, I gave this bow a 6. Fit and finish, I gave this bow a 9. And price, let's see where we at. I'm sorry, I gave this bow an 8. And we'll talk about that here in a minute. And then price, I gave this bow a 5. This bow retails at $1,300. And that puts us in the 5-point category. So that will give me a total of 70. Excuse me. Gives us a total of 70 points in the comfort and 70 points in performance. Comfort, performance. All right, so let's talk about a few things. All right, so shootability wise, this bow I gave a 7. It's 31.5 inches axle to axle, 6 1/4 inch brace height. Excuse me, man, I got something catching in my throat. So that's why I gave the bow a 7. It's not going to be the most shootable bow in my opinion because you have quite a bit of recess or reflex in this riser. But it is 31.5 inches, 6 1/4 inch brace height, so it is going to be a shootable bow. 7 on that. Tunability wise, this is where I really got a lot of flack last year because of my opinion on all the screws on this bow. My opinion on having all this adjustment has not changed, I would say. I've just kind of adjusted how I'm scoring these things because I do understand where you guys are coming from. While I gave this bow a 10, in this case, it's because it has so much tunability, and the ease of tunability on this bow is insane. Like, it is definitely the most tunable bows. The Bowtechs are the most tunable bows that we have in the shop. With that being said, I don't prefer to have all this adjustment on my bow for the type of hunting that I do. I know there's guys out there that do it with these bows, and they've had great luck with it. This is just my personal preference. I would rather have the pressable bows, or the bows that require press, to tune because you're getting the same tune. It's just in a different way. It's not as easy. It's not as simple. It's not as fast. The difference, in my opinion, is on something like, say, the Matthews or the Hoyt. They don't really have all this adjustability, but what they do have is the fact that you can beat the crap out of them, and you do not have to worry about anything coming loose, anything vibrating. And I know I've had a lot of you guys comment and say, you've never had a screw come loose on your bow. I have, not on a Bowtech, but I have on other bows. And just my personal preference is to not have all these extra screws and adjustments on a bow. With that being said, if it's something that you're going to be deer hunting with from a tree stand, not really hiking in, not beating the crap out of your bow, or target shooting, or whatever it is, just shooting in the backyard, this adjustability on this bow is phenomenal. So take that for what it's worth. I gave this bow a 10 because it is extremely tunable. I'm not taking that away from it. It's just maybe not my preference. Draw cycle. This bow lives up to its name. It is super smooth in the comfort setting. That's why I gave it a 9. With that being said, I did not care for the performance setting on this bow at all. So I gave this bow a 5. It was pretty harsh and it stacked quite a bit. Noise and vibration. This bow has very little vibration, and what vibration it does have dissipates extremely fast, and it is a very quiet bow. What I've noticed this year on these bows, however, and I'm sure it's been that way in the past, but it's just kind of dawned on me this year, is that the noise is directly, maybe not quite as much the vibration, but the noise is directly correlated for the most part with the speed of the bow. And this bow in the comfort setting was slow. compared to the other bows I shot this year in their standard setting. The bow is really slow in the comfort setting, and that's probably one reason why it is extremely quiet. With that being said, a lot of times vibration also factors into the noise. And this bow, either way, however you decide to look at it, this bow is a very quiet bow. Speed, 5 on comfort. Like I said, it was pretty slow. And 7 on the performance. Let's talk about speeds real quick while it's on my mind. I shot this bow at 70 pounds, 27-inch draw and 30-inch draw. The top numbers are going to be your comfort numbers, and the bottom numbers are going to be your performance numbers. So in the comfort setting at 27-inch draw, 350 grain, 425 grain, and 513 grain arrows, I got 284, 262, and 238 out of the comfort setting. At 30 inches in the comfort setting, I got 316, 292, and 260. Then in performance, we will see quite a bit of jump. I averaged about 10 feet a second, roughly 10 to 12 feet a second difference in most of these numbers. I got 295 in performance, 271, and 250 at 27 inches. And then at 30 inches, man, I'm having all kinds of trouble today. Sorry about that, guys. And then 30 inches, I got 328 feet a second, 301 feet a second, and 278. That's the numbers that I got. I'm not saying that that's the numbers that you will get. Your chronograph may be completely different, but what you can do on all my reviews, I'm using the same chronograph, and you can look at those numbers and you can judge between the bows which bows are faster and slower. Whether these numbers are accurate really doesn't matter. It's going to matter when you're trying to set your sight and stuff up. It's not going to matter as far as picking a bow. But what these numbers do give you, if you check out all my reviews, is you can see how the bows rate against each other on this chronograph. So take these numbers for what it's worth, but that's what I got. Like I said, speed 5 and 7 perspective, and as far as comfort and performance. All right, so for balance, I gave this bow a 5. This bow did not balance well in my hand. That's bare bow, how it comes out of the box. These vibration dampeners are adjustable, the little orbit dampeners. You can move them around, make the bow balance better, worse, however you want to do it. And then once you add your equipment to it, that's going to completely change the balance. I score these bows based on how they are when they come out of the box. Back wall on this bow, I gave it a 6 in comfort and an 8 in performance. So in the comfort setting, it did have a little sponge in the back wall. In the performance setting, for whatever reason, I know it still has the same stops, it's in the same position, but for whatever reason, this bow did have a stiffer back wall or a stiffer felt back wall in performance. Weight, I gave this bow a 6. It's not heavy, it's not light, it's kind of middle of the road. It's a little bit lighter than the Hoyts. So I did give this bow a 6. It's not lighter, it's not enough of a difference in weight to give it a better score or a worse score than the Hoyts. That's just the most comparable total bow weight to this bow is the Hoyts of this year. Fit and finish, I gave this bow an 8. I noticed not on this bow, but on the Core SR, where the limb bolts and stuff, there's this little recessed area in there. And I noticed a little bit of chipping and a little bit of shiny coming through the powder coat or the Cerakote, however they coat these. I noticed that it seemed like it didn't fill that cavity in very well. So I dinged it a little bit for that. But with the exception of that, these bows look very nice. The fit and finish it's a very durable finish on these bows. But I did dock it a little bit. I gave it an 8. And then price, this bow is a 5 based on the little price scale that I have set up here. And that's how I got 70 and 70 for comfort and performance. So that's pretty much it, guys. That's what I got on this bow. Let's talk about my personal opinion. If you're looking for a not short, not long, good middle of the road, 31.5 is an excellent axle to axle length in my opinion for a hunting bow. I wish other companies, more of the big four companies, when I say big four, I'm saying Hoyt, Matthews, PSE, Bowtech, not necessarily in that order, but those are the big four that I'm talking about. I wish more of them would offer a 31.5 inch model. I think it's a perfect little area between longer and shorter. Like I said, for a hunting bow, I think this thing's going to be perfect. I also mentioned the fact that if you got a longer draw length, this is a good option for you. Like I said, it goes up to 31 inches, so that is something to think about. Quiet. I like the comfort setting. I don't like the performance setting. Personal opinion, but that's what I think about it. The adjustability in this bow is phenomenal. It's a great option. It's not my favorite as far as durability and longevity in the bow, but I know there's a lot of guys out there that have shot these bows, the Bowtechs, for years that have had this adjustability and they've never had an issue with it. I think if I were to buy this bow, I would definitely have to think really hard about pulling this thing apart and putting Loctite or Vibratite or something on some of these screws because it would worry me. But with that being said, I carry a little kit in the backcountry too, so there's always a way. You just gotta keep track on what's going on in your bow, and that's going to be up to you as the archer. I like the bow. Smooth draw, decent back wall, shoots well. It is slow at my draw length. So it wasn't my favorite bow, but I think it's a good option. I definitely think it's worth you guys coming up here, shooting this bow, and checking it out. Like I always say, guys, if you got any archery related questions, don't hesitate to call these guys at 704-855-1300 up here at Grafton Archery. They can answer any of the questions that you may have. If there's questions for me, comment down below, guys. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content. Comment down below and thank my wife for letting me come up here and dealing with my shenanigans of coming in late and leaving early. She deals with a lot with me, and I'm so thankful for it. So comment down below and thank her if you like this content, because she's the one that lets me come up here and do this. And also, big thank you to the guys at Grafton Archery for letting me come up here and doing these reviews. I love doing it. I love bringing these things to you guys. Like I always say, guys, comment, like, and subscribe if you enjoy the content. It really helps. And like always, remember to live your life to the fullest. Use your passions to bless others. And we'll catch you on the next video.